Welcome back, everybody. This is the that Friday thing, the State of the Canyon for this, the 29th of April. I waited and waited. I waited as long as I could. Those dogs have been barking for 2 straight hours. That is the biggest bee I've ever seen in my entire life. Look at that. Look at that guy. I thought it was a hummingbird. So unlike some recent weeks, there has been some progress this week, I must say. If you remember the container full of pool deck, this is completed end to end, completed. I would like some more verticality in some parts of it, but I just got to a point where I was just trying to use it up. So we've got that in, we've got that little bit on the corner of the beast. This is partly set in now. It at least doesn't shift around as much as it used to. I think it needs more, but this is all I got left. I got that little pile of rocks, I got that much dirt, and I got some like I don't know, parking blocks? I don't know what they are. I know they're extremely heavy. I don't know where I'm going to put them. In there with those parking blocks, I got a handful more asphalt. I'm just trying to kind of fill this out. I've got some future plans for the improvement of this section, but it's kind of dependent on what kind of material shows up. So this is largely unused for the moment. I'm letting the Sultan's Curse weed grow because it's the biggest weed I've ever seen. Like, it has a trunk, and I want to see what it turns into. Like, what is that? I guess I should have waited 10 minutes because it seems like they're done now. Anyway, here is the last of the pool deck. A little bit there, a lot of bit here, and some right here. I'm just kind of trying to fill this area out as I notice that there's a lot of just empty space. So put another little send there. I still want to fill in there. The rest of it all needs set. It's only set in like here, basically. And then eventually I want to somehow connect that to over there. That empty spot there, you can see the eroded out, is because when it rains, the whole walkway up there to the bridge fills with water. And it pretty much all drains down here under the evil lavenderish bush. So I'll think of something. If you live on a large-ish, semi-rural property and think that you don't have rats, I've either got rats or, well, those ground squirrels, those are just fluffier-tailed rats. But something ate the outside 2 layers of this mortar bag, and it wasn't me. So that's about the extent of that. I mean, my back hurts. Like, I moved stuff, I think, 5 days of the week. The mortar here in Ancient Kingdom is sort of starting to season. I think it's getting fully cured. It has a little bit more brown look to it, which is what I had hoped for. But I think the Neapolitan Nightmare has kind of just decided on this as its final state. It's pretty pink. It's in the shade right now, so it doesn't look as pink as it is. And look how white that mix is. So that's the untinted mortar mix. So, I mean, any mortar mix I use in the future, it's got to have some kind of tint in it, because that's Snow White. Good to sit down. I'm still covered with mud from setting all that rock in. So as far as rig stuff goes for the week, Daphne got a decent once over, as there were quite a few cast off parts from the other dominator of the bench during the week. So the MIP shafts went in and of course dropped straight in. They're the correct length and all. She got a new motor mount, which I remembered now why. So that the silver motor mount that's in Big Mean Jelly Green is a KYX. It doesn't work with the Bauhaus LCG, so that's why it wasn't in here. Otherwise, it would have been in here. And she just had a stock mount. So I went to this mount. I was going to go through the work to put the full alloy transmission in there, and then I realized that, like, when I built the battery tray, you got to take this out to get the battery tray out, and then you got to take her off. And the two-speed works fine for now. We're just going to leave that alone. She's quieter now. I mean, she still has a bit of a farm tractor going, but there was a big rock stuck in the spur, and that is because, and I never noticed this until just yesterday, you can see the blue, see that blue? That's the slipper pad, and then you can just see the edge of the tooth. Can I make it, can I make it turn? There's the spur gear. So it's not like that on the OE skid, but there's just a big open spot on the back, and I never noticed that. So that would be why she was so grumbly. I mean, still sounds like a TRX 4, but much less grumbly now. Of course, this is where most of the week went, and most of my time is still going. I'm still tinkering with it almost constantly, and I think the most important thing to mention at this juncture is the number 8847. Differential cover rear TRX6. That's going on there right now. I'm going to slap that down. I'm going to get that radio out of the box. And this week's update is unofficially, yet officially, a part of the Jolly Green build series, because we're going to sneak it in here, and anybody who is watching this and continues to watch this is going to get to see this thing drive for the very first time. So I'm not saying that this was something the equivalent of Kid on Christmas, but man, just getting to the parts and pieces, I was just throwing stuff around. I grabbed the first antenna I could find because I was like, I don't have a box. There isn't a zip tie on here. Nothing is probably the way it's going to stay. What I have done is calibrated the motor there, speed control, set the endpoints, 44% each direction in this guy. That is a serious amount of torque. The diff unlocker is on the VR knob. I don't mind that. I think it's fine. That's locked, and that's unlocked. So I didn't foul anything. I had to set the endpoints on that guy as well. I think the electronics layout is it's reasonably clean for how much extra wire we're looking at. This system will never be removed from this rig. It would have to handle catastrophically for me not to deem it a permanent addition to the fleet. So once the final position for this is determined, I think the wires are going to get snipped and clipped, and I want to put a new, I might actually just hardwire the servo in, like get this one a little cleaner. I'm debating. I really don't want to resort to the stock receiver box in the event that I don't run the sides. Try to keep everything down the middle. There's plenty of room. I would also like to avoid servo extensions though as well, which is why this guy isn't like back here somewhere, because I don't think the servo lead is long enough to reach it. But it is definitely in good enough condition to wheel it. So the speed control is probably going to need attention with the app. I got to mess with all the settings in this side, this guy, but not right now. I don't. Right now, we gonna drive. I'm gonna say it was the neighborhood ground rats that ate the bag off my mortar mix, because as I was carrying this monster out here, two of them ran seemingly from nowhere, and by the time I turned my head to the left to see where they had gone, they had already disappeared. They must have a series of holes and warrens. The goal is obviously don't flip this over. Look at it. It's absurd. I figure, you know, if you're gonna do it, just go straight at it. What? That's ridiculous. It looks like a crazy centipede. I feel like in this few seconds, I feel like I'm saying why you don't see a lot of LCG TRX6 options. Like, it doesn't appear to matter. I'm just pointing and shooting. Good grief. Jolly Green is now a centipede. It just goes over anything. And it's straight at it. Yeah, I mean, if there was a question as to why these are not competition legal, I think it's pretty clear. There's an ant on my hat again. How do they do that? Yeah, I'm not even steering. And like I said, if you'd watched that one, the tires, those foams felt impossibly soft. But apparently that is not the case. It's just the load distribution. And then of course the amount of drag brake that you're gonna receive from Axe 550. Okay, so this is, and like you would think, and like, okay, the thoughts, they're coming so fast. Like, you can see how far the rear of the chassis hangs out. Depending on how I do this, there's nothing saying that can't get cropped. Like, I'm not fitting a G63 or whatever it is on here, so I don't need any chassis back there at all. Like, usually this is so difficult to breach that line, and look at that. Unreal. It's definitely going to be king of the side hill as well. Look at how high that tire is up in the air, and it doesn't even care. Well, let's look at that actually. Because what I haven't really looked at is turning radius. Yeah, I mean, obviously a body is going to add some weight up high, but it's not pushing nearly as bad as I thought it would. yes, that pushed right there. But for how much forward traction this thing has, it doesn't push more than before Blue Sky High went four-wheel steer, it had about the same amount of push as this thing. In terms of just raw traction. Oh, and a little quick demo here. For those lamenting the loss of the 2-speed, I mean, I get it, but it's that's plenty brisk enough for me. And in reality, I feel like with the 11, it's 11:45. I think I could probably get away with a 12. But yeah, look at the. Oh, you've got pipes. Doesn't even care. Jolly Green ain't care. Completely untuned, obviously. Completely unanything. That's ridiculous. It's a lot of low speed too. I have to attribute that to the radio link. Like, it just seems, it has more crisp control because this is going straight from the GT5. Now I got a homeless GT5. I got to put that in something. I just love watching the articulation of the rears. I guess my worries about rolling it were largely unfounded, as how about reverse? Sure, why not? Weight distribution? Who cares? Jolly Green don't care. Jolly Green ain't care. And of course we got to close out this little first few minutes of wheeling with a good old slick rock. Oh, little hesitation there. Oh, I was just giving it too much sauce. Gotta dial back on the sauce. Or give it a bunch of sauce. Like that 3300, so much zoot. Like an angry centipede. Wow. There it is. I think it's earned. And that little bit of dust on there, now all the tires match. Let's just go up this in reverse because we can. Oh, look at that. Yeah. I gotta get a nice articulation pose here. Yeah, ordinarily I would not try to back up sideways on there, but ordinarily I wouldn't just go face first at this rock. But this is a different thing entirely. I'm surprised. I thought that rear would have clipped the ground at some point. It's so weird seeing those wheels just hang out in the air like that. Well, like, this guy is going to be the king of uneven terrain. It just doesn't get slowed down. That is something else. So in this week's closing, everyone, 2 notes. This thing is a trip. It does what would seem impossible. And I kind of feel like everyone should have one. Like everyone should build a 6x because it's so over the top. Like, after I switched this off, I was just like, can I climb up that? This thing climbed over that pile of parking blocks, just right over it. Like, with anything else, I would never even consider hitting that. So getting a body on this and a bed on this is is up there in the top priorities. I want to get this thing fully ready to go. And I should also mention, at some point, I'm sure it will happen. There we go. Our 6F. And then there's the monster, the 8841. So I have everything on hand except the horn, which I ordered on back order from Traxxas, and they shipped it. So within a week, I will have all the parts required to put lockers on this, should I so desire. And then it occurred to me, while I was driving it, I was like, the reason I took this off and that off is because I want to use the 4-channel. And then I said, hey, guy, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can run full lockers on the 4 because I took the 2-speed off. Sometimes I'm a disappointment to myself. Like how did not register in my head? But like I say, I don't know. You know how this might work is I might put the locker in there and see how that works, and then add the locker all the way in the rear. It honestly, it doesn't need that much tweaking. It's pretty great. But before this guy dominates too much of the State of the Canyon video, as like he's dominated the whole week, we'll throw in this week's teaser in the close of this episode, as like, you can't have too many projects on the bench, right? So this started as a slash, as many things here did in years gone by, and eventually transformed into something else and into something else. If you saw the Jumpathon video, you saw this featured in there. And I mean, it's got 2.2 alloy bead locks that are trying to blow the G-Made bighorns out, because these kind of tires, if I recall correctly, it's a Castle, yeah, it's a 4600 in there, which is a little peppy. Some big, like, Traxxas GTRs or whatever. The gearbox is sounding a little chunky. There might be something in the spring, little chunky. But the problem is, prior to that video, this thing hadn't been driven in like probably a couple of years. Well, not entirely. Okay, let's make a short story long. So I was driving it, and it kept cutting out and cutting out and cutting out, and I thought, well, that brushless hobby speed control from like 2008, I think it's finally gone. So I put in a Hobby Wing Max Pro 10, Max 10. It's a quick run BL 120. Anyway, it's a censored Hobby Wing 120 amp, and everything was great. And then as I was desoldering the connectors off the other one, I noticed that the connectors inside the battery plug were basically broken off. So that speed control is probably fine. Then fast forward to the jump off video where I hadn't driven this for a long time. And it's, of course, it's all decked out. It's got techno, it's got RPM, it's got the bulkhead's fast lane. It's got a lot of nice parts on it, but it just sits on a shelf and it doesn't get used. So what it has, it's got a GT5 for a radio, it's got a decent steering servo, it's got some titanium here and there, it's got that basically brand new Hobby Wing speed control running that Castle 4600. And I thought, it seems a shame to just let it sit on the shelf and not get used. So it's going to get torn down, as has happened to other slash based in the back. I really only need let's call it 2 or 3. At one point, we were up to like 8 or 9. So 2 or 3 slashed bases plenty, as I don't drive the fast stuff very much anymore. But I kind of, at the same time, I don't want to let go of them all. So I'll have wheels and a full complement of electronics, and I have more motors than just that castle. And what this is coming around to is Horizon and A-Main, they got me again. So where will all those electronics be going? And those beadlocks? Rift. I was looking for a kit. I've been looking for a kit. I know that if it comes down to it, I can turn this into a rock crawler, and it should work just fine. But we are going to try building it as is. It might get that. It might get that 4600 on there. I know I have a 3200 in the box as well. But it'll get built as a it's a rock bouncer, right? This is what we're looking at. It will be built as a bouncer, but if I go, it'll get turned into a rock crawler. And I think it's going to be fun either way. It'll get at least an episode or 2 as I go through the build process. I will be doing a little modding before it's even built, like with the wheels. I'm not a plastic beadlock man. And yeah, so look forward to that coming soon. But not soon enough to distract me from getting the body on Jolly Green. I want to sort that out. And I want to get the rest of those parts put in Daphne. So, I mean, we'll see. That's coming up. So, anyway, I think I have filled and overfilled this week's episode. So, I thank everybody for tuning in, especially for the nice special surprise of getting to see Jolly Green in his 6-wheeled glory wheeling about. That thing is fun. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for whatever comes next. And as always, have a good weekend, everybody.